Okay. Sometimes we just need to come before God and be silent. Is that correct? No, that's not correct. Why? Because God is a discerner of the heart. Lord don't even need you to speak to Him at all. But we need to speak to Him because we move the things in the air. God can discern between your thoughts. He can think so much faster than you that He can plan out a universe while you're speaking out half a word. You don't need to be silent before God. It's not like you're going to interrupt Him with anything. But there is a time that we need to come before God and just be in His presence. And usually that has to do with a lot of praise. We just need to come into His presence like Moses. When Moses was on the mountain, he was in the presence of God. He wasn't doing any kind of a ministry before God. He was learning things there from God. God was teaching him, and the Lord was giving to him things, and Moses was receiving from the Lord, but there wasn't really anything that Moses had to do except be in the presence of God. And that's what we need to do as Christians. We need to sometimes just come and stand in the presence of God and get revived. We can't do anything outside of God without His Spirit and His power to dwell within us and help us. The Bible says no man comes to God unless the Father draws him. But we have to be in His presence, have enough of that God rub off onto us in order to go out and have some attraction for men. Now let me tell you, that doesn't always mean that you have to be just a loving, kind person. You can still be yourself, whatever that self is. And you can still have your attitude of you and still be a Christian at the same time. People in the world try to shove Christians into a box. Well, if you're a Christian, you have to stand over here, and you can't speak, and you have to be nice even when people slapping you around. And none of that's true. All you need to do is have an attraction. You know, I used to know this old grouchy man that had an attractive personality. He had more friends than you can shake a stick at. And he treated some of those folks like he wouldn't know what, but he just had this personality that just called people to draw. He was truthful to them. And he stood his ground when he was talking. Like Trey Gowdy does. Like Donald Trump does. He stands his ground. Man, those two men have great respect for me because, not because either one of them are perfect, but because those men stand their ground in who they are. That's what Christ really teaches us to do. He teaches us to stand our ground in who we are. And the devil tries to come in and put in this fake religion that causes us to try to be something that we're not. You know, I heard somebody say here just a little while back, I just hate people that tries to be something that they are not. Well, nobody should really do that. But at the same time, it's not wrong for you to try to be a better person. Just make sure that you have truth on your side. Whatever your battle is, whatever you're doing, whatever you're fighting for, go and spend some time in the presence of the Lord. I mean, how long has it been? If you're a Christian, you should have a desire to spend some time in the presence of God. If you're a minister of the Lord and you never go and pray, you never are spend enough time in God's presence. You never spend enough time in God's presence to feel the direction that He's taking you. Spiritual things are like this. It's something folks try to say that it's not something that she's getting sick. My dog is getting sick. Folks try to say it's not something that you have a presence in or that you can feel. But anything spiritual is feeling. That's why it's called spiritual. You know, the spirit you feel. when you walk into a room and the atmosphere in the room is actually the spiritual setting that's in there. For instance, if you walk into the throne room of God, and you're going to feel quite different than you would if you'd walk into a courtroom of our land, or if you walk into a schoolroom, or if you walk into a church right before they're gathering up, or if you walk into a church building where nothing's in. This is what I'm talking about. You can imagine all those things just as I'm saying that. That's because there is a spirit that dwells in each one of those settings. The spirit of a horse is you can always act like a horse. The spirit of a teenager is not that of an old person, because they've had a lot of time. Teenager is still wild and free, and the spirit of an older person is more laid back. And we need to get ourselves in the presence of God where that spirit can rub off onto us, where no matter what our personality is like, we'll have enough of it. Listen, Moses could be a fierce man, but when God's spirit rubbed off onto him, millions of people followed him around. Understand what I'm saying? Millions of people. Alright, just get in God's presence. Take the time to give God instead of just yourself today. Alright, God bless. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. Another great message, Crossing the Middle Ministry.